Plants can soften the edges of water bodies, enhance the beauty of the water surface, purify the water, and bring rich colors and various moods to the landscape. In this lesson, we will learn about garden plants and water features design. The focus will be on the classification of aquatic plants, the relationship between water depth and plant landscapes, and the design of plant landscapes around water edges, water surfaces, revetments, water inlets, and water outlets. Aquatic plants are classified into 4 main categories based on their lifestyle and morphological characteristics: emergent plants, floating-leaved plants, floating plants, and submerged plants. Emergent plants. These plants have roots and rhizomes that grow in the sediment at the bottom of the water, while their stems and leaves extend above the water surface. Emergent plants are usually tall, with striking flowers, and most have distinct stems and leaves. Common emergent plants include lotus, pickerelweed, cattail, yellow iris, and arrowhead.
Floating-leaved plants. These plants float on the water surface. Their bodies often store gases that allow the leaves or the entire plant to float stably. Examples of floating-leaved plants include water lilies, Victoria water lilies, and spatterdock. Floating plants. These plants do not root in the mud, and the entire plant floats on the water surface, with most of them being primarily ornamental for their leaves. Examples include water hyacinth, water lettuce, and duckweed. Submerged plants. These plants have roots and rhizomes that grow in the mud, with the entire plant submerged underwater. They have well-developed aeration tissues that allow gas exchange in environments with low oxygen levels, such as coontail, hydrilla, and eelgrass.
Water depth and plant landscape. Different types of aquatic plants have varying requirements for water depth. The depth of the water body determines the distribution patterns of different types of aquatic plants, thereby influencing the overall appearance of the water plant landscape. When creating aquatic plant landscapes, it's important to establish different planting zones based on water depth: shallow water zones, intermediate water zones, and deep water zones. Shallow water planting zone. This zone extends from the shore to areas where the water depth is up to 60 centimeters. In this zone, wetland plants and emergent plants are typically chosen. Intermediate water planting zone. This zone covers areas with water depth from 60 centimeters to 1 meter. In this zone, emergent plants and floating-leaved plants are generally planted. Deep water planting zone. This zone includes areas where the water depth is greater than 1 meter. Floating plants and submerged plants are suitable for this zone. Now, let's explore the design of waterside plant landscapes, including key points and patterns for plant arrangement. Here are the key points for waterside plant arrangement. 1. It is advisable to plant in clusters or groups to fully utilize the variations in forehead edges, canopies, and colors, enriching the overall space. The image shows how the combination of trees, shrubs, and flowers creates a diverse landscape space. 2. Avoid planting the same species, size, and spacing around the water edge. Instead, create variation with some areas closer and others further apart, and vary the density to form an interesting and uneven forest edgeline. The image illustrates a landscape along the shoreline with varying plant densities. 3. Incorporate different tree shapes and plant forms to enrich the combination of lines, creating an undulating canopy line. 4. In areas with potential scenic views, leave open lines of sight to create framed views, borrowed views, or transparent views. The image shows how the branches of water edge plants frame a beautiful scene of a pavilion across the water.
5. Choose tree species for the water's edge that are water tolerant, and preferably colorful plants and plants with flexible branches. The image shows how the use of weeping willows and cherry blossoms along the shore enhances the water's brilliance and softness. After understanding the key points of water edge plant arrangement, let's explore common water's edge design patterns. 1. Plant design for static water features. Lakes. Plants along the lake are primarily arranged in clusters and groups, with a focus on enriching the canopy line and coordinating colors to highlight seasonal scenery. For example, the lakeside promenade at Flower Harbor, with its combination of camphor trees, Japanese maples, cherry blossoms, and viburnum, creates a plant landscape that is both varied in density and rich in visual interest. Ponds. To achieve a small but expansive effect, plant arrangements often emphasize the individual forms of plants or use plants to divide the water surface into different sections, adding layers to the scene. The image of a natural pond shows how diverse plant arrangements help to mitigate the monotony of the water feature.
2. Plant design for dynamic water features. Springs. Since the jumping and bubbling of a spring naturally draws attention, it often serves as a focal point of a scene. Enhancing the area around the spring with appropriately placed plants can further elevate the visual effect. For instance, at the Yin Spring of Hangzhou's Xiling Seal Engraver Society, although the spring pool is only 1 square meter, the combination of Ophiopogon grass planted between the stones, a clump of Kosa dogwood, and a plum tree arching over the water creates a serene and elegant scene with dappled shadows and subtle fragrances. Water surface plant landscape design. The arrangement of plants on the water surface should complement the plants along the water's edge. It's important to leave at least 2/3 of the water surface clear for reflecting the surrounding scenery. Wide water surfaces. The focus here is on creating a plant community landscape with aquatic plants, where the abundance of plants is key to the design. An example is a large-scale planting of lotus flowers, which can create a spectacular scene reminiscent of endless green lotus leaves stretched to the horizon. Lotus flowers stand out red against the sunlight. Small water surfaces. The emphasis is on the individual characteristics of plants, with a higher demand for the shape, color, and height of the plants, making them suitable for close appreciation. In small water bodies, the selection of aquatic plants should focus on quality rather than quantity. Revetment plant landscape design. Earthen banks. These often features a gently sloping lawn extending into the water, with plants arranged according to the terrain and environment. A well-balanced arrangement of plants along the bank creates a natural and orderly landscape. Stone banks. The principle for plant arrangement here is to showcase beauty and conceal flaws. Plants are used to cover and transition between different elements, adding interest to the scene. Stone banks are particularly well-suited for planting weeping willows, which highlight the contrast between the willow's softness and the stone's ruggedness. The combination of weeping willows with flowering shrubs and other plants adds color and richness to the landscape. Water inlet and outlet plant landscape design. These areas are typically planted with concealing vegetation to create the impression that the water flows endlessly. Sometimes, these plantings are combined with rocks or small landscape features to enhance the scene. For example, a small bridge combined with plant landscapes not only divides the water surface but also effectively manages the appearance of inlets and outlets. Tree clusters, combined with scenic walls and garden openings, can give the illusion that water continuously flowing in and out from beyond the garden walls. In this lesson, we've covered the essentials of designing garden plants in conjunction with water features. When designing aquatic plant communities, it's important to select plants that meet the space requirements, aesthetic goals, and ecological restoration needs to create an effective and harmonious landscape. That concludes today's lesson. Thank you for listening.